Hey guys, Tyler here. I want to do a video today about something that I have been pondering for about a year now, and some thoughts are finally coming together in my head that I want to share because I think they will be valuable to people like you that are looking to go deeper with the Lord. And the subject that I want to talk about is what really holds lasting value in our lives. So for a few years now, I've been hearing business people and economists talking in the investment field about how, because we're in turbulent times, uncertain times, there's a lot of tumultuous stuff going on in the world. Economists and business people are talking a lot about what you can store your savings, your investments in, that will hold its value, right? What's a safe investment in turbulent times, right? And so they'll debate what is the safest place to put your savings so that they don't decrease or lose their value, so they don't depreciate, right? And now I'm not an economist, and this is not a video about investing, but I've been the subject and the ideas that have been going out there have been causing me to reflect on a deeper level about what really has lasting, eternal value in this life, right? So one thing I've heard economists and business people saying is that in a time when things are unstable, your investments are like a storehouse, right? And let's say your money or your savings is like grain. You know, in ancient times, what you save up is food, right? People would farm, right? And they'd build a big barn and they'd put all their grain in there. And if the barn didn't leak or have holes and the grain didn't decay because it was properly stored, then that's a good storehouse for your savings, which was grain in the old days, right? Today, they talk about a storehouse in broader terms. For instance, you know, I'm wearing a gold wedding ring, right? And people will say, well, gold always holds its value. It may not go up in value as quickly as other things, but it's reliable that people will always want gold and value gold. But so as a Christian, not getting into like a moral debate about whether like gold is valuable or not, should we care about material things, but rather on a deeper level, what is gold? Why does gold have value, right? Like people give it value because they know that people want this shiny yellow metal called gold, right? But does gold have lasting value in and of itself? I mean, when it comes down to it, when you really boil it down, gold's just a rock, right? I mean, if I were in a desperate situation, right, and I needed food for my family, could I eat this rock? No. And if it were really crazy times and, I needed to get food, but people weren't taking gold for whatever reason, would it do me any good? No, right? So what I have been searching for this period of time now is, okay, so what really has lasting value? Where can I turn and find something that actually will produce for me? Now, I'm not talking about making me money. I'm talking about what actually behind gold, right? Behind the barn, what actually causes value to come into my life. Let me give you an illustration to explain what I mean. Take, for instance, a sunset, right? Sunsets, when anyone watches a sunrise or a sunset, they're like, man, that's so beautiful. It's so moving to watch. Like, what is it when I'm looking at the sunset that gives me that meaning, that value? I would argue that if you removed the Lord from the sunset, if God took himself out of the sunset, wouldn't it just be a giant ball of nuclear gas and fire that I was looking at? I mean, if if the Lord were not in the sunset, I think that the sunset could actually be kind of a threatening thing, right? Like, oh my gosh, like, what's that ball of fire gonna do? Like, is it gonna come at me? Or, and even if it weren't a threat to us, it could also just without the beauty and the promise of the good that tomorrow holds because of the Lord in our lives, couldn't the sunset just represent like the meaningless passing of another day, and another one's gonna come, and where's it all headed? Or let me give you another illustration. So back to in the olden days, the farming, right? The grain and the storehouse, right? If you were a farmer, what actually holds the value for you where you feel, or let's go back to in the olden days, the farming illustration, right? If you want to ensure that you're able to produce the grain, right, that you can store away in your barn, your storehouse, right? What do you need? I mean, you need the seeds, right? You can't grow grain without seed. You need the sun, you need the water, right? And as a farmer, you also need skills, right? I mean, you got to know how to do the farming. I couldn't produce grain from seed because I don't know how to farm, right? But there's something that stands behind all of those material skills and supplies that actually are more valuable than all those things combined. As believers, we realize that you can plant the seed and you can pour water on it and the sun can shine, but what actually makes that little seed sprout and blossom and causes it to grow, right? Now, the materialist or the person that's, just the person of this world is like, oh, it's just, biological. It's just what happens, the circle of life or whatever. But as Christians, we know the Lord literally, somehow, he causes the seed to grow. The Lord is in all of these things, right? And as a Christian and as someone who is a believer and a seeker of Jesus, I've been pondering, I believe that there's something that stands behind all of these material things, the material world that has deeper and more substantive worth and value than any earthly storehouse. Because behind every material storehouse is the one who is inside of all of these things, giving them life, giving them purpose, and causing them to produce and for life to come forth from them all, right? Another way to look at it is the farmer, right? He has the knowledge, which he has received also, but he has the skills to know how to farm. But how does he get the energy? And how does he get the motivation? How does he have the oomph every morning to wake up and be like, I'm going to wake up at dawn and go milk the cow and go get the eggs and go, till the soil? The Lord gives the farmer life. There is a action, a conscious, purposeful action that God takes in every aspect of this physical life. He enters in and he brings such a goodness and a purpose and a meaning to it all that it inspires us to go and to produce. It gives us the ability to produce, right? And I've just been feeling that as Christians, the Lord is calling us to learn to dwell with the one, that all of the goodness and the life and the purpose is flowing from, and to be one with that one, that life is coming from, such that the life of the Lord can literally flow through us. So recently I came across a couple of passages in the Old Testament that have been really opening this mystery that I've been pondering up to me. In Habakkuk chapter 2, it says that there's a day coming when the knowledge of the glory of the Lord will be poured out on the whole earth like the waters cover the sea. And what that means is that there's a day coming when all the people of the earth, the veil is going to be removed from their eyes, and they're going to see what we see, that there is one who is in all of the good things of this life that is causing them to hold their value, their goodness, like the substance that makes them worthwhile. It's the Lord that's in those things that makes them valuable, and the whole earth is going to see, you're the one that's in the sunset that makes it meaningful and beautiful. You're the one that's causing the seeds to grow. You're the one that makes me, when I look at gold, I feel that there is something meaningful and promising in it. The wedding ring, right? It's more than just a shiny metal. It symbolizes an eternal, a lifelong commitment, a covenant of marriage, right? And when you look at this, it reminds you of the promise. Why? Because the Lord is in it. The whole earth is going to see this deeper reality that stands behind all these physical, material things in the world. And so I was reading this week in Isaiah 60, this amazing promise in the Old Testament that says, in that day, there's a day coming when all of the nations of the world are going to turn and see the Lord. And it says that the place where they are going to find the Lord, it's not in the metal. It's not in just the sunset or these, like all the other things. It says that they will turn to God's people. Because why? Because we are the ones that the Lord has literally made his home in, right? So they're going to realize, oh, God is real. I see the one that is in all of these good things that are in my life. But it says that they will turn to God's people because they will see that they are where the Lord is living on the earth, and he is made known through them. So there's this one verse where it says that the reason why the people, the nations, it says even the kings of the earth. So who are the kings today? Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Donald Trump, like these like super rich, successful billionaires, right? They have the biggest storehouses full of the most grain, but they're going to realize it's all dust. Like if all I have is the grain, if all I have is the money, if all I have is the toys and the tools, like I want the one that gives them all their meaning. And they're going to see that there is a people in the earth. It says in that passage in Isaiah that the people of God, the world will turn to them because God's people have been endowed with his splendor. Does that resonate with you? Do you get it? That we are not people that just are enjoying the gifts of this life. We're the ones that the Lord literally dwells in. The one who gives everything meaning and value, we know him. And we are in a relationship with him where that God of glory literally dwells inside of us. It says in that day, that final day, when things have come to completion, that the sun will no longer be what gives us our light, because the Lord will have become our everlasting light. So I'm talking about that light of the Lord, the light of the knowledge of knowing Jesus. That light will so permeate this physical world that it will literally radiate the light that we need in order to live. And what I'm saying is that God is calling us in this day, in this hour, to be endowed, to grow in our endowment in the splendor of his presence. Okay, so, being endowment is more than knowing something or having like a little droplet of it. To be endowed is to be filled to the brim and overflowing. God is looking for a people that he can endow with his splendor. So fill us with the light and the very substance of who he is, that we radiate that glory, the glory that's in the sunset. You and I, it says, as I said, that the sun will no longer be the light that people are looking to. Why? Because although the Lord reveals himself in the sunset, his fullest revelation of himself is meant to be in me and you. That we would be so filled with that same glory that is revealed in all the goodness of the earth, that people will look at us and they will see, they will know the splendor of the Lord. So I was praying about that passage, I was like, Lord, I want to be endowed with your splendor. I want to shine with that light that I see in you. I want to be so filled that people look at me and they're like, I see the glory, the very substance of God. And the Lord said this amazing thing to me. He said, Tyler, I have no splendor to give you besides myself. And man, that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I saw it is not the case that God wants to give us a bigger storehouse than, say, Elon Musk. Elon is never going to be impressed with me. He's never going to look at me and be like, whoa, I got to have what that guy has. You know, there are always going to be people that are better than me and you, most likely, at everything that is done in the world. You know, I've been doing these live worship nights on Tuesday night, right? And I'm playing the piano and I'm singing during these times. I will never be a concert pianist. I'm never gonna, no amazing world-class pianist is ever gonna watch me play the piano and be like, I gotta have what that guy's got, you know? You know, I can't even think of a famous singer right now. I was gonna say Whitney Houston is like, that's the 80s. You know, like, but a famous singer is never gonna like watch me sing and be like, whoa, how do you do what you do? It's just magic. I gotta have it. Teach me your ways, right? Because it's not about the quality, the gift, the level of storehouse that I have produced. God, the splendor that God wants to give us is not a greater gift or more of the stuff. The splendor that God wants to give his people that surpasses all of that, that makes the sun, the light that God wants to give us, that makes the sun lose all, it's like, I don't need that light anymore, is God himself. That is what we are looking for. So returning to the beginning of what I was saying, I was searching, Lord, what really has value? And the Lord is showing me that he is the one. He is the one that has value, right? So, you know, to take it a step further, there's that passage in the Gospels, right, where Jesus is with 5,000 people, or 5,000 men and probably 5,000 women and children, right? Whatever, a ton of people. And they have, I think, 5 loaves of bread and some fish, right? And, you know, Jesus is like, let's feed the people. And they're like, well, we don't have time to go and buy bread. We definitely don't have time to, you know, go buy some seed, plant the seeds, let them grow, water them, you know, like do the harvest, bake the bread. Like, we're never going to be able to produce food for that many people. But what does Jesus do? He takes what they have and he lifts it up to the Father. And what is he really doing in that moment? See, Jesus, he lived physically in this world, but at the same time, Jesus, the Son of God, also dwelt where the Father was. He was in the place where the Father is. And because he was there at the same time that he was here, he could reach in to that place and bring it to the one who causes life to happen, who causes, the same one who causes the seed to sprout and grow can cause the bread to be multiplied because he dwelt in that place. And see, right now, I know there are people that could watch this video and they would turn it off right when they said that, because I don't believe in that, God, like a person that, causes, like, it's all, it's just like the circle of life, like, just that's the way that, the physical world works. Seeds just grow, and like, that is how this world is set up. And I don't care if they think that, because I believe the promise that there's a day coming when that veil, that blindness that the devil of this world has cast over people's eyes, is going to be taken away from the whole earth. And everyone's going to see the truth, that there is one, that you can be in the place where he is. And because you're in contact with him and the life that is with him where he is, Jesus, in that multiplication story, was the connection point between that place that I know and that I trust that you know, where the Father is, and being physically in this world. When he reached into that place, the life came forth and caused there to be enough. There was enough bread. And God is calling you and I to dwell in that place also, the place where he is right now. In the end of the Gospel of John, Jesus said, "Father, I want them to be with me where I am." He didn't say, where I'll be when I am crucified and die and rise again, go to heavens, in a few days. Like, once I die, then I'll be with you where you are. He said, I want them to be with you where I am. See, because Jesus was already in that place while he was in this world. And that is our calling. He wants to endow us with the splendor that is where he is right now. And that is our calling. We're meant to be endowed. How do we get endowed? We have to learn. We need to take the time. We need to make the room in our lives to learn to dwell with the Lord, with Jesus where he is. There is a place right now. I'm seeing that place right now. I'm not saying I live in that place all day long, but I know that God is calling me to live in that place all day long. And that is literally what I am able to do. That's not like a false dream. I'm growing in that. And the Lord is calling you to grow in that. Because on the day when the Lord lifts that veil and he shows the world, you need more than a big storehouse full of seed or grain or money. You need to learn to dwell in the place where the one who gives those things value is. You can have the Lord himself. On that day, there's going to be a people that already have learned to live in the life with the one who gives us life. And they're going to turn to the people of the world are going to turn to the people of Jesus's world and say, "Oh, I see it now. I need that. Help me find that." And we need to be ready. We need to be like, I can do that because I live there. Like Jesus used to live there, I live there now. That is the calling. That is how you and I, that's the best investment that you and I can make. And I'm not saying don't live in this physical world. Don't, plant the seeds. Don't, and make your investments, like steward what you've been given physically. But there is a greater investment that we can make, and there is a way to go about that. If we take the time, if we turn to the Lord and we behold him and we draw near to him, the Lord will imbue us with the substance of who he is. He will give us himself, and we will learn to carry that glory. We will learn to live in that splendor, and we will radiate. We will shine because we are that intimate with him. And that is the calling that I believe, I would say, I know, that is the calling of God's people in this day, is to learn to dwell in his splendor with him. He has no greater splendor to give us than himself. And so I just want to plant that seed in you guys today, that this is our calling, to take the time to behold him, to draw near to him so that he can fill us with himself. Because as we do that, more and more we will grow. He will expand our storehouse, the storehouse of our spirits and our hearts and our minds, where we will grow in the awareness of his glory, and we will start to shine more and more. It says in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 that as we behold him, we are transformed into his image from one state of glory to another. And that is the calling, that to be beholding him so that the glory can grow. And there is something that is emerging where we will, our storehouse, he's healing our storehouses so that they don't leak so that as much, right? So that we are more filled. And there's going to be a point that's coming where we start to be filled and we start to radiate. And it's not put on, it's not Hollywood, it's not an act, we're not performing, we are dwelling. It's the end result of abiding. It's just the natural effect that happens when you spend that time in his presence. You start to shine. You start to hold the value of what has true value, the glory of his love, the beauty of who he is. We are going to be so filled that we're just carrying the substance of who he is with us, so much so that it shines, that it shows, right? And when that really starts to overflow, people are going to start to see. They will see because we will be a revelation of what is possible, of who he really is in our lives. And so I just challenge you today, if that's not the what you are investing in your life, start that investment process. Turn to him and allow him to start filling you. It's such a beautiful process. It's a beautiful thing. At first, it may feel like a challenge because, you're spending less time with the material investments. But the more you do it, the more you're going to realize, oh, all that stuff is dust if I don't have you. And the more you experience the joy and the beauty of being with the one who makes it all worthwhile, the more you will realize, this is what I want to invest in. So go for it, guys. I'm going for it. And there is a reward. He is the reward, and he wants to give himself to us. So God bless you. Go for it. Let's do this.